Hey everybody, this is part 3, so to speak, of a haunting in Virginia. I've joined this forum, this site called Ghost Gab, and it's new, and you need to check it out. It's very interesting. It's where you talk only about ghosts, paranormal, and such. And everybody that knows me knows I've got a lot of that to talk about. At one point in the same house that I lived in Virginia, there was one night. It was during the middle of the night. You know how sometimes you'll wake up, and then you'll think that you're dreaming, and you'll say, "Well, I'm gonna close my eyes and count to 3, and I'm gonna wake up." This one particular night that had happened, and I was looking where my bed was. I could look down through the hallway and see the living room. As a matter of fact, I could see both my kids' bedrooms too. It's dark in the whole house, but I kept hearing somebody turn the TV on, turn the channels, walk across the room and sit down, and I could hear kitty cartoon music playing. Well, this was back in the early 80s, and at that time, the cable company that we had there, you only had 13 channels. Basically 12, because you didn't have a channel 1. And they went off at midnight. Like you see in Poltergeist, Star Spangled Banner playing, whatever. That's the way it was then. And I couldn't figure out how, I could hear the snow on the TV, but it kept going back to that one kitty cartoon channel. And I could actually see light coming from the living room. And so I laid there and I thought, well, I'm going to wake up, Counted to 3 and I opened my eyes. I said, there really is somebody in that living room. And I knew it was going to be, I knew I was about to walk in on a ghost. So I sat up real quiet on the bed. I didn't want to make any noise at all. And I sat up, I scooted over, I put my feet on the floor, again, without making a sound. And I sat there and I kept watching the light, kept listening to the, the sound of footsteps going across the room, sitting down in this one particular chair. And so I put my hands down on the bed like this, and I stood up real slow as to not make any noise. And as soon as I stood up and took one step towards that room, everything quit. I saw no light radiating from that room, nothing, no sound, no nothing. So I ran around the corner real quick to where I could run into the room to see if I could see anything. And there was nobody, there was nothing in there, it was nothing. So I went over and put some cushions, at one end of the couch, and I went over and I turned the TV on, and I laid down on the couch and I looked over at the chair where the noise had been coming from, and I said, you ain't got to leave the room just because I came in. It's on. There you go. Watch TV. Even though all it was snow. And then everybody's like, God, how could you do that? Well, I wasn't afraid. And then back also at that time, we didn't have CDs like we do now. We had records, tapes, so to speak. So I had a record player in my living room, and I had some little 45s. And every night, when the kids would go to bed, I would like to play records. I'd put 6 records on the stack, and how they dropped one at a time. And this one night, the song Every Breath You Take by the Police, or Sting, would drop and start playing. If any of you are familiar with that song, Every Breath You Take. And I thought, well, that's not what I wanted to hear first. So I went over and I picked the stack up and hit the button again. It dropped to that song, and it did that like 2 or 3 times, and I thought, why does it keep dropping to that song? So I thought, well, I went over there and I put it on last. I mixed it around in the stack. I said, well, I'm going to put it on last and see what happens. And I put it on top of the stack. The whole stack dropped and that song played. I couldn't get anything to play on that record player that night except that song. And so I told my cousin Sue and her best friend Janet. I think they had come in town to see my Aunt Sally. And we had been talking about that incident. And so they wanted to come up to the house while they was in and have a seance. And so they come up late one night, and we went to the living room, and I had the candle ready, and so we put a candle out in the middle of the floor. We all sat around each other, you know, where we touch our fingertips, and always gonna conjure us up a ghost, you know. And so we sat there and was basically goofing off and having fun. That candle was the only light that we had on in that house, and just it went out. Nobody blew on it, no nothing. It just went out, and they went crazy. And I had to be the one to jump up and turn the lights on because they didn't know where the lamps were. And so they were scared. Now, Janet looked like she was going to cry. And so we was standing there talking, and I was telling them about, you know, the record on the record player, and I said, well, wait a minute. I said, what's going to happen if I put some records on? And I put that on, and sure enough, that every breath you take started dropping every time. And so they left my house, and they never came back. And I don't see them very often, but when I do, well, I haven't seen Janet since then, but I've seen Sue a couple times. Whenever we see each other, we still talk about that incident. So that's something she's not forgot either. Smells. I don't know. I can't say that I've ever really smelled a woman's smell. I smelled flowers. Flowers real strong. Either it was flowers or a woman's perfume, but I think it's more flowers, like a garden. But I have smelled a man's cologne real strong at times, just in certain spots, just like, and sometimes it was just like you could be standing there in a certain spot and it'd move across you, like move through you. And my husband at the time had come downstairs one night, and I'd been telling him all this time about the stuff that, you know, the smells. And he came into the living room at the desk, and he asked me what the kids had been doing with his cologne. The kids have not been into your cologne, and he swore they had. He said, I'm standing here, I can smell. Sure, I'm standing here, I can smell it. I'm not stupid. I said, they ain't been into your cologne. I said, I've been telling you, there's smells in this house. He went so far as to go through the desk looking for his cologne. Couldn't find it. And then all of a sudden, he's like, damn, it's gone. I don't smell it anymore. I said, it's because he moved. He thought I was crazy. But anyway, so, and another thing that was bizarre in that house, too, there were snakes everywhere. And that kind of sounds evil, don't it? Well, it was surrounded by woods, but there was just so many snakes around that house. We even had one in the kitchen one time, but that's neither here nor there. But somebody had said, as far as the history on that house goes, was that there was a man that had lived in that house that had hung himself in the middle bedroom. And when he was found hanging in the middle bedroom in the downstairs. And he had 2 dogs or something that they had starved to death or something in the house. It was weird. But that's a few more tales of the house, the haunting in Virginia. And until next time, I gotta go. Bye. I think.